This is so weird how different this V6 is compared to all the other V6s they ever made. I'm having fun. I'm having fun in a V6 Mustang, which is legit. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are in another 3.7 V6 Mustang, and before you leave, I promise it's really cool. V6 Mustang, if you did not know, had a bunch of motors before this generation that just weren't that solid. There was the 4.0 and a few others, which is basically a glorified Explorer engine, and then they finally, before the V6 death, ironically, they made the Cyclone. The Cyclone engine is a 3.7 liter that's very similar to a VQ motor. It's like an American VQ motor that you'd find in like a 350 or 370Z. They came with 300 crank horsepower, a little bit over 300 crank horsepower, and it was a pretty fun car. If you were to race a 370 or a 350 in one of these cars, it's a very close race. So with that noted, if you add boost to it, it's actually kind of worthy. The funny thing though is that up in Canada, I went to Quebec one year and somebody threw me the keys to a ProCharge V6 Mustang and I went drag racing all day in it. And I actually beat a lot of stuff I was surprised about. But in this one is the same ProCharger kit that's on my car, on the Coyote car, and it's a P1SC ProCharger. Now, when you do the P1SC ProCharger on the Cyclone engine, you're making a bit over 400 wheel horsepower on pump gas, which is a pretty awesome deal if you think about it. You're making a little bit more than a stock wheel horsepower Coyote, and you have that torque to back it up, and you're unexpected. It's really weird seeing this car go down the road and hearing the boost come out of the 3.7. Very interesting, because when you hear the Coyote going down the road, you're going to, well, obviously somebody boosted their car. But when you hear the boost and the blow-off valve with this, it's pretty rad. This has the upgraded, much noisier blow-off valve than my car. And along with that, the P1SC in this is pushing a little bit more boost than my car as well. Usually you stick with about 7.5 pounds of boost on the stock ProCharger kit. This is more closer to 10 because they upgraded the pulley. Believe it or not, driving around town, it feels perfectly fine. It feels like the stock V6 Mustang until you start easing your foot into it and you start feeling the extra torque and the extra horsepower, and it's all good. It feels really solid. We're gonna make the argument most likely in the comment section going, now why would you boost the V6? Well, I will argue that the V6 is depreciating a lot, and if you wanted a Mustang, it's really not as shameful as the old V6. Back in the day, you owned a V6, I'd be saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Even the Crown Victoria V8 wasn't that fast, let alone the old V6. So when you take the Cyclone engine, you've seen some people turbo these and beat crazy cars. I remember there's a V6 silver one years ago at TX2K that had over 500 horsepower and nitrous and pulled on a built GTR, and it was the funniest thing I had ever seen. So getting beat by a V6 Mustang is a phrase you don't want to have to say out loud. So when you boost it with the ProCharger, you have some benefits. You don't have to do anything. It's a bolt-on kit overall, and you have stock internals, stock trans, stock clutch. And you're making 430 wheel horsepower. Not bad. 4 years ago, I drove one with the Vortec kit on it, which is extremely similar, centrifugal or centrifugal supercharger, however you want to say it. They pretty much do the same thing. With the ProCharger, it feels like you have a little bit more torque, and this is also the first manual one I've driven for review. The other one I did was an auto, but the one I drag raced was a manual. It sits a little bit high, and I totally forgot that the S197 chassis is like a monster truck when you first get it, but easy fix, coilovers, springs, whatever. It's easy. Same interior as always. I'm not gonna bore you with the same interior speech about the Mustang. You know, the 2010 to 2014 Mustang interior, pretty much the same. Most of them didn't have the leather steering wheel at first. They had this like cheap plastic around it. It was awful. But then they upgraded to the leather, and that's what I have in my car. Bluetooth's good, all that stuff's good. I totally forgot how long the stock shifter is though, because I have the Barton short throw with the 2-post bracket, so it's like this super notchy 40% reduction shifter, and I totally forgot it's like driving a truck almost in this one. But MT82, just don't be an idiot. Take your time with your shifts, take a breath, and you're good to go. So basically, all in all, it's totally cool to have a boosted V6 because you're different. It's almost like a glorified modern Grand National. That's like a really good way to put it. Okay, so I'm about to be that guy and see what it feels like. Go. Okay. Wow, okay. 40 roll on this car is pretty awesome. It almost feels like a stock Coyote with some bolt-ons. Back when Smurf was stock Coyote with bolt-ons. So here's a comparison video to that. And it's really not that far off. You have a little bit harder of a punch with the V8, but this has that progressive linear power that's very controllable. And yeah, it's just fun. Okay, I see you, V6. The blow-off valve in the background. This is so weird how different this V6 is compared to all the other V6s they ever made. I'm having fun. I'm having fun in a V6 Mustang, which is legit. There is one thing that it might not sell you on, is that if you put the wrong exhaust on this car, it sounds like doo-doo. So just be sure you have one of these so you get the little bit of the raspiness with the higher RPM. Honestly, most of the time, they're not that bad. It's when you do something like really, really loud straight pipe cars, please don't do that. Friends don't let friends straight pipe cyclones. Don't do that. Styling wise, he's got the louvers on the back. He's got the GT500 upper grille. If you didn't know, the GT500 basically removes the horse, it removes the fog lights, it removes everything. So it makes this big open mouth, essentially. And that changes it. It makes it look a little bit meaner. Some people don't do it because they go, oh, well, you're just trying to become a Selby. But no, it's fine. Whatever. Do whatever you want. As long as you're not a V6 putting Cobra badges on it, you're fine with me. Just don't be that guy. Then when people put V6 badges on a Shelby GT500 to be a sleeper, nobody says anything. So it's like a paradox. I don't even know. All right, I'm gonna roll the window down a little bit and see if we can hear it a little bit more. Oh my God, the stock suspension, y'all. All right, dude, this thing, so, one moment, please. So this thing, with the stock suspension, creates this giant nose coming up, which makes you laugh and it feels like you're pulling a Dominic Toretto for a second, but at the same time, it actually hooks. So you're not spinning every gear. That was a first gear roll on and I could just get into it. That's why so many people are able to do pretty solid quarter miles in these cars, because they don't have the same problem that the stock Coyotes have, is spinning all the way down the track. The first time I went down the track in my Mustang, my Coyote Mustang, I couldn't get traction anywhere. But since the power of this is a little bit lower, but the torque comes in later, you can just get off the line. It's really, really cool to feel that and say, oh, I got this. I can hit every shift because I'm not concerned about just roasting the tires the whole time. Even just rolling through the gears, taking my time with the MT82 because it's a mean little transmission. Hear me out here. Even with the stock suspension, you still have grip. That's not a problem. It's just driver confidence more so. Like, the car is gonna do it. It's just fine. But I totally forgot that with the live axle and everything else, you get this boat feeling kind of going like this. My old S197 from 06 did the exact same thing, because they really didn't change much of the geometry underneath the car. Honestly though, like, out of all the boosted cars I've ever driven, this is the easiest boosted car I've ever driven, like without a doubt, because of how the power comes on. The clutch is factory, it feels normal, and the car feels normal. It doesn't feel super messed with. Don't get me wrong, you hear the blow-off valve and you hear the ProCharger sometimes, but it's not so much like a fighter jet. that it kind of intimidates you. It just feels like you're driving a faster in a V6 Mustang, which is weird to say, but I can just ease into corners like this, and it's piece of cake, easy. Anybody, literally anyone could drive this if they know how to drive a manual, and they could have a really fun time. For over 400 horsepower, it doesn't get easier than this. I mean, stock brakes, brake feel is a little squishy, but that's because of stock brakes. You do bite, but not as fast as you think it's gonna bite. It's not like the Focus ST, for example, which just, yeah, you hit it and you just jump forward. My seatbelt just caught me. You hit the brakes and it just yanks you almost overly sensitive. This is the opposite. You do have to put some pressure on the brakes to get what you want. All right, dudes, I'm gonna ask you, what do you guys think about a supercharged V6 Mustang? Do you think, I'm just gonna ask it, do you think you should just buy the V8, or do you wanna be unique and do something different and try and beat the V8? I think that's a fun topic to talk about. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much. I typically upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I will see you guys next time, and take it easy. Goodbye.
Machucou, hein?